Hey guys, what's up? It's Katie and I'm back with another Marvel Contest of Champions video, and today we are going to be taking a look at Psychoman. So we're going to briefly go over some of his powers and abilities and see what he can do. So Psychoman is an interesting champ. He runs off of concussion, he power drains, he can heal block, pretty much your standard tech champion. Now, Psychoman has this thing called a control box. So basically he's got three different phases of it. So he's got hate, fear, and doubt. So with the hate, when the hate is active, so you'll see a little red icon. So right now he's got the blue icon, which is doubt. So they fight more defensively when you have the doubt control box active, and they are 70% less likely to use a special attack, suffer passive concussion while blocking, and they reduce ability accuracy. So then when you have the yellow one up like he has now, that is fear, which means they are more likely to activate a special attack and suffer passive concussion during special attacks. Now the cool thing about this is even if opponents cannot be taunted, it acts similar to a taunt, but it is not a taunt. So opponents will even throw specials on all or nothing nodes when the fear control box is active. Now the red, which is the hate, you'll see the little hate, the red triangle, and that is when opponents fight more aggressively, and so they suffer a concussion during heavy charge. So if you really want them to be aggressive and you want to bait out specials, or not bait out specials, but you want them to throw heavies like on stun immune, this is what you want to be in stun immune. So now let's see what his actual attacks look like under these. So doubt, striking the opponent while they're blocking, grants Psychoman 6% of a bar of power. Now Psychoman actually has reduced power gain, but there are ways around it not gaining power and in essence gaining more power if you're doing the things required to do based on what control box is active. So with hate, striking the opponent while they're executing or recovering from a heavy charge or heavy attack grants Psychoman 18% of a bar of power. So this is the one you want to be on something like stun immune, right? That way you can bait out heavies, gain the power. Now fear, which of course is the yellow, striking the opponents while they are recovering from a special, basically punishing the special attack, grants Psychoman 25% of a bar of power. So this is really good for champions that, throw a lot of specials. Now, doubt does do some other things. So it actually can drain power, but let's take a look at that after we look at his signature ability. So Psychoman's signature ability, he doesn't necessarily need it, but it is beneficial. So Microverse Overlord, when an opponent's ability fails to trigger while they're suffering from one of Psychoman's concussions, they're inflicted with a heal block. So that is kind of nice. Now, if they are already heal blocked and have been so for at least half a second, they are power locked for 6 seconds instead, which is really nice. So he does have some utility in forms of power control, which we're going to talk about when we talk about his special attacks. Now, whenever the opponent heals while heal blocked, Psychoman gains 25% of a bar of power, scaling up or down with how much health or power they would have gained. So that's kind of nice as well. All right, so he doesn't necessarily need it, but it is kind of beneficial to him, as most SIG abilities are. All right, now let's talk about his special one, because his special attacks do different things based on what control box is active. So if hate is active, as it is now, you're going to inflict the opponent with a shock debuff, dealing energy damage, over 6 seconds and stacking up to 6 times. So you can really stack those shocks if you can rotate through your specials, or not your specials rather, but if you can rotate through your control boxes. Now then you have doubt. This attack is passively unblockable and inflicts opponent with a power drain debuff, depleting 30% of their current power over 6 seconds. So that's nice if you want to keep your opponent power drained. Now fear, which is of course the yellow icon, inflict the opponent with a cowardice debuff, reducing special attack damage by 40% for 12 seconds. So this is good if, the special attacks can do a lot of damage. So that's kind of a nice one to have. All right, now let's take a look at his special 2. So with Hate, Psychoman gains a Fury buff for 14.5 seconds. And he really, really needs this because Psychoman hits like a wet noodle. And we're going to talk about this in a bit when we talk about one of his synergies. All right, and then you have Fear, inflict the opponent with a heal block passive for 18 seconds. And then Doubt, this attack is passively unblockable and inflicts the opponent with a special lock debuff for 12 seconds. Now, I want to point out, this special lock debuff, your opponent will still gain power, but think of it like Professor X's special lock, right? It's grayed out. They cannot use a special. So I don't know if I would necessarily call it a special lock, but yeah, they cannot use a special, but they will still gain power. So with that being said, what you want to do is build up to a special 1 in order to power drain them, because otherwise you can push them to a special 3, and that is, well, no bueno. All right, speaking of special 3s, let's take a look at his special 3. So his special 3 inflicts a stun debuff and power lock passive on the opponent for 3 seconds. And then during the opponent's next special attack, they suffer a passive concussion, reducing ability accuracy, and a passive weakness, reducing attack, which is nice. But this isn't necessarily something you want to throw a lot of. You can accidentally get to it pretty quickly if you're in the Fear control box. So if you have the little yellow icon and they're throwing specials and you're gaining power like crazy. So you can accidentally be pushed to that special and not realize it. So now I talked about an unknown synergy. And so we don't know who this synergy is, but the control box is unable to cycle out of Hate, which is fine because that is where his most attack damage comes from. And the opponents are 20% more likely to use a heavy attack. Obviously, you're in the Hate control box mode. Personal shock debuff potency is increased by plus 60%, and personal fury buffs refresh when the 4th light attack lands a hit or strikes into block. So this is important because he really needs this synergy. I don't know who it is with, but I feel like this is going to be really beneficial to Psychoman. Now, Psychoman, in order to rotate through his control box phases, it's really easy. It seems like it's complicated, but it's not. It's basically your 4th light attack, and that's either striking the opponent or striking into the opponent's block. So it's really easy to cycle through, and if you want to switch up what you want to be in. So when your opponent is going to throw a special, you want to try to be in the Fear control box, right? So then you gain power. If they're on stun immune, you want to be in the Hate, right? Because you want to be baiting out those heavies and gaining the power that way. And you want to launch your specials in order to build up your attack. Now, Psychoman's attack is really weak. He does have some good utility in the form of heal block and power control, but in my honest opinion, I feel like there are better champs out there who can do what he can do. So I like his animations. He's got really cool animations. It's a really cool concept of cycling between the 3 phases. I wish they would have been maybe pre-fights instead of just cycling through, although it's kind of a nice little thing to have in order to gain the power. It's really easy to gain power with Psychoman. You basically just, it's almost like Mojo. You get your opponent to do what you want them to do. And so he's not bad in that regard, but there are just better champs out there who can do what he can do. You've got the Visions who can power control. You've got Warlock who can power control and heal block, and who can hit a lot harder and who has who, in my opinion, has more utility than Psychoman. Plus, he's got the immunities. Psychoman doesn't. So while he's a fun champ to play and he's got great animations, I love his blocking animations. They're super fun. I love the control box, how they added that in. But in all honesty, I don't know if I would necessarily rank him up. I took him into variant 3 and it took a lot of hits to get these opponents down. So, and I'm still getting adjusted to his play style. So with all of that being said, how would I rate Psychoman? Well, I would give him 4 out of 10 candies. Like I said, he's a fun champ, but there are just so many other champs out there who can do what he does, and they're better at it. So I think this was kind of a flop in Kabam's book. It's a cool concept, but I just don't think it worked out as they hoped. But anyways, guys, that's all that I got. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of Psychoman? Do you think Kabam should buff him in the future or give him some fine tuning? Do you like his 3 modes of his control box? Let me know in the comments below and let's discuss. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching and enjoy this quick word from Kevin Smith.
Hey man, it's me, Kevin Smith, and if you enjoyed the mediocre Mcoc video full of scrub gameplay, then show Katy some love by hitting like and subscribe, man. Katy don't ask for much. Katy did ask for this. Katy did. So, do like Katy did and bug people and get you to like and subscribe, man. She's doing that Mcoc beautifully. Not mediocre. Katy!